This episode of the D-Lew Podcast is brought to you by Happy Wrap. You ever wanted to design your very own gift wrapping paper? Now is your chance to do so. Whether it's for the holiday season, weddings, anniversaries, birthdays, no matter what the occasion calls for, you can use Happy Wrap to wrap your gifts. As a matter of fact, you can even design notebooks, greeting cards, gift tags, and so much more. You can sign up today at happy.thedlewpodcast.com and use the promo code DLEW to get your 10% discount at checkout. Again, that's happy.thedlewpodcast.com and use promo code DLEW to get your 10% discount at checkout. By Simpler Hair Color. Hey guys, are you tired of using that drugstore hair dye brand that isn't getting the job done? If you want to use a great product to cover those grays, have no fear, Simpler Hair Color is here. No mixing, no dripping, no mess. It's super easy to use, whether you're a beginner or a pro. Go to simpler.thedlewpodcast.com and use promo code DLEW10 for your 10% discount at checkout. Again, that's simpler.thedlewpodcast.com and use my promo code DLEW10 for your 10% discount at checkout. And by WWE Shop with Fanatics. Get your favorite WWE Superstars merchandise and wear them proud with superstars like the OTC Roman Reigns, Rhea Ripley, the Second City Saint CM Punk, John Cena, Main Event Jey Uso, the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, and so many more. Oh, by the way, they got some really cool championship belts in there as well. So go to wrestling.thedlewpodcast.com. Again, that's wrestling.thedlewpodcast.com so you can go to WWE Shop with Fanatics. This podcast is a Believe Network and Siete production. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the D-Lew Podcast brought to you by Believe Network. I'm your host, Derrick T. Lewis, and I hope the week is treating you all absolutely well. This past weekend was my return to the world-famous Monster Factory for the Monsters Are Real event. It was so great to be in front of the Paulsboro faithful, our loyal fans, and I got to announce not one, but two new Monster Factory champions in a matter of 5 minutes. Congratulations to Chris Desmond, who was the new champion, a hardworking dude and nothing but the best, on his endeavor, as the new champion. Of course, Super Bowl 59 was Sunday night. And oh boy, those Philadelphia Eagles. First of all, I'll be the first to admit it. I am a huge Eagles hater, except for this past Sunday. I wanted Saquon Barkley to win a Super Bowl ring so bad, considering his story and what happened this past offseason with him and the New York Giants. And he bet on himself, and now he is a Super Bowl champion with the Philadelphia Eagles. So to all my Eagles fans, friends, congratulations and enjoy it. Just obviously tomorrow, as you guys are listening to this, be safe out there at the parade. How ironic, though, is that they're going to have the Eagles parade on Valentine's Day, because Philly is known as the city of brotherly love. So nice touch. But of course, during the Super Bowl, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about this one. The Kendrick Lamar performance, and I mean, it was a lot of mixed emotions. Some people were offended by it. A lot of people got it. And my take on it is simply this. Art is so unique because everybody has the opportunity to express themselves in their own way. It's going to take some people, I feel, a couple of times to watch it again and again and again and again to understand where Kendrick was coming from. Samuel L. Jackson playing Uncle Sam. So watch it back, and I guarantee you're going to have a totally different perspective on it. But man, I didn't think he was going to do Not Like Us, but man, did he. And 70,000 people said the iconic line from that song. I don't want Drake to sue me, hence why I'm not going to say the line. But of course, Drake is in the mood of suing people, so I don't want him to sue the D-Lew Podcast or Siete Music or Believe Network. But anyways, this episode, I have the honor and privilege of having the Hoochie Daddy, Najasism, and The Face. And they are co-owners of an all African American pro wrestling company called Change, located down in the Atlanta area. And they have an event this coming Sunday called Change 2 down in Conyers, Georgia. And they're going to come on the show to talk about the origin of the company, its mission statement, where they're at, where they've been, and where they're going. And we're going to talk about so much more. And let's not wait any longer. My interview with Najasism and The Face starts right now. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce two gentlemen right now that I have, on this week's edition of the D-Lew Podcast. They are co-owners of Change for Wrestling, all the way down in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, the first gentleman I'm going to talk about, he is a traveling pro wrestling photographer in addition to being one of the co-owners of Change for Wrestling. He's known as The Face. And of course, we have pro wrestler. And the man does it all. He's known as the Hoochie Daddy, Najasism. And they're going to have on February the 16th an event called Change 2. And the gentlemen are going to go ahead and talk about it. First and foremost, how are you guys doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm
doing amazing. Absolutely.
The Hoochie Daddy, always amazing.
Awesome. Well, like I said, when I first heard about it, shout out to Jabari McIntyre. He's the proprietor of Nation of African American Wrestling. One of the sponsors of the show. One of the most interactive groups on Facebook. You know what I mean? And it's crazy how me and Jabari have only known each other maybe 5 or 6 years, but I've known his wife for almost 34 years. It's crazy how
awesome.
How these things kind of intertwine, you know what I mean? And we'll talk about that in a minute. But I want to talk about you, Naja. We could talk about, just how did you get involved? How did you become a wrestling fan? I guess it's for the both of you. When was it that you became a wrestling fan, and which promotions were you watching?
I will say I've been a wrestling fan all my life since about age 4. Watching. My dad was always a boxing fan, but my grandpa, my mother's father, was always a wrestling fan, and I didn't really know what wrestling was, honestly. And I just saw it. He was watching it one day, and from then on, I was hooked. And yeah, that's pretty much how I became a wrestling fan. From then on, it was like that was my cartoons. That was my everything. I really wasn't into cartoons, and it was always martial art movies and wrestling.
It's funny you say that because I just learned something about you too. I'm also the same way. My grandfather is the one who got me into pro wrestling. I was born. The first toy I ever received as a kid was a WCW Booker T action figure. The night I was born, he was watching wrestling. The LWO had actually formed. I'm born October 5th, 1998. So the night I was born, the LWO was formed. So since I've been a kid, it's kind of just been a lifestyle for me. I grew up watching wrestling. I had a moment where I stopped, but even then, I didn't stay away for long. Obviously, I'm back doing this. So, but yes, the thing that actually made me a fan though would be Mick Foley falling off the steel cage. Off the Hell in a Cell. That's a moment I'll never forget, and that's what made me fall in love with pro wrestling.
Wow, it's crazy. All three of us have something in common, that our grandparents were instrumental in our wrestling. Now, my mom, so I'm a little older than you guys. I started watching wrestling in 1982, and Flair was the first wrestler I saw in Georgia Championship Wrestling, because when I was living in New Jersey, I was able to get Georgia Championship Wrestling, the AWA, World Class, and the WWF. So I was able to watch all those promotions, but my grandmother was also a fan.
Wait a minute. How did you get access to all of that in New Jersey? I'm interested
in North Jersey. In North Jersey, the cable company we had, because I was living in Orange at one point, then I moved to Newark, but then we were able to get all those promotions. Now, WCCW, World Class out of Dallas with the Von Erichs, and the AWA was on ESPN. The NWA, Jim Crockett promotion, Georgia Championship Wrestling, and all of that was always on TBS. And the WWF whether it was Channel 9 or it was Channel 5. Of course, the USA Network with Tuesday Night Titans, Primetime Wrestling. And then, of course, they were on Fox with Superstars of Wrestling and Wrestling Challenge. As a kid, I had access to all of that.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And then before there was the internet, it was PWI magazine. So shout out to Bill Apter, one of the greats, in this industry, when it comes to, editing, photography and all that good stuff. So I had access to all that stuff as a kid. So I felt lucky that I was able to watch so much pro wrestling. And it's wild to me that some fans want to see pro wrestling companies fail. It's wild. I'm just saying,
I
you
don't
guys,
understand.
this generation right now, and I think they're spoiled because, and I don't mean to get off topic, guys, but I just feel as though that there's so much wrestling that it's so easy to hate on one company. But I'm like, listen, I'm in the industry too as a ring announcer. As long as the guys and the girls are getting paid and have a place to
Yes.
do to hone their craft,
Everyone's
is all
winning.
that matters. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's how I was able to get access. But the fact that all three of us have something in common, and God rest her soul, Grandma, I miss you so much. But my grandmother will probably be tickled seeing me doing what I'm doing in pro wrestling right now. But I want to talk to you, Naja, in regards to when was it that you made the decision to go, to start training to wrestle?
Okay, so I know I look super young and everything like that, but about 12, 13 years ago, I was in Atlanta performing, musician, doing music. And like I said, I've always been a wrestling fan.
Mm-hmm.
I was captain of the wrestling team, and college,
Okay.
high school, had an opportunity to wrestle in college, didn't take it. I went the music route and was performing somewhere in downtown Atlanta, and wrestling just flashed across the screen. And I was like, where is that at? They was like, oh, that's here. I was like, stop lying. It's like, yeah, they train here and everything. I was like, when they train, they said Tuesday. I was like, I'm coming back. I came on
Awesome.
Tuesday. I went on Tuesday, first day moonsaults, doing everything, just out of control. And at the time, Steve Platinum, who is a big part of Georgia wrestling, Scarborough, he works with Georgia Wrestling History, who does the Georgia Wrestling Awards and all that. He was our trainer and starting the promotion Platinum Championship Wrestling at the time. Shortly, maybe a year after that, Xavier Woods left TNA and came to PCW with us, and he was helping train. And my first 6 months of wrestling, that's who took me on my first wrestling trip to a Ring of Honor show, and that's who really showed a lot of. He believed in me from day one, and I was always doing music and wrestling, so I never was fully into it like I should have been. And everyone told me I was talented, but I felt so small at the time, and I didn't know a lot about indie wrestling. It's not like the internet is now, where you can just get on Instagram and get on
Right.
YouTube and learn all this stuff about how to communicate and how to go to different companies and everything. That wasn't as prevalent at the time. So
Agreed.
what we had right here in the city, that's all we kind of saw. We thought it was we took it as serious as like this is the biggest thing. We didn't know as much about indie wrestling. Then I started to travel a little bit, got my name out there more. And then when I really got to the point where I was really starting to make a name for myself, something happened with music. I actually got a tour in Japan, not Japan, China. Got a tour in China, and I thought I was just going to step away from the ring for a couple months, go do my tour in China with my backup dancers and singing and all that. But they ended up not falling through. But by that time, I had quit my job. I had got rid of my lease in my apartment because I knew I was leaving the country for a long time. Right. That never happened. And then in 2015, had a big show in Florida. And that was my last match. And I was done. Maybe a year later, I ran into Woods, Xavier at the gym, and he was like, hey, man, they about to do the Cruiserweight Classic. You'll be perfect for it. And at the time, I had already stopped, and I wasn't sure yet. And, talked to him about it, but it never came into fruition. And then in 2019, my best friend was like, hey, PCW starting back up. Indie wrestling is starting to boom again. You should just come out to the show. Went to the show, sat in the audience, saw some things that I thought could change, and I started making suggestions, ended up doing commentary. And then 5 years later, here we go. I started back training for one match, and training for one match turned into a career boom that I never thought would happen, traveling all over the U.S., wrestling former WWE talents, AEW, TNA talents, and it's just, it wasn't planned. I don't know how that happened, but we're gonna, yeah.
It's all good.
That's how it ended up happening. That's why we got to where we're at right now.
That's incredible. And I mean, to talk about your journey in regards to you were doing music and wrestling simultaneously, then you were going to go on this big tour in China. That, that fell through. And then, you're,
kept having contract issues. Yep.
Yeah, and then also, obviously, it took for you to go back to see an indie show, and you got the bug again.
Yeah, that's exactly
what I mean. That's all it. And sometimes, when you're hip deep with something that you really love, sometimes it's okay to walk away, but all it takes is that one split moment, and it's, you fall in love with it again, and here you are now, about to run your second show, which is tremendous. So Face, I'll come to you as far as how did you get involved with the photography end in pro wrestling?
Absolutely. So this story here. Okay. So I had just graduated college, and I went to school for film. Obviously, it's hard to get into the film industry. So I was at home, just kind of wasting my day away. I spent a lot of time playing WWE 2K23 or something at the time. And, I was playing the game religiously. So then one of my friends was like, I got this gig for you. I know you don't really take pictures, but I mean, you went to school for it, so maybe you can pick it up easily. So he gave me this gig. It was a concert where I met the rapper Pastor Troy.
Okay.
And he's a huge wrestling fan. He loves Ric Flair. Like all his outfits he performs in are Ric Flair based.
Nice.
We had this conversation, and he was like, "Man, I love the pictures you take." And then we started talking about wrestling, and we had talked about wrestling for 45 minutes. And he made a comment and was like, "I love that you take pictures of me, but it sounds like you should be doing that." And I had an eye opener. I was like, "Oh, you're right. Like, I love the music. I love taking pictures of concerts, but I can take pictures of wrestling all day." I got an invite from a wrestler by the name of Stunt Marshall to a show. Well, he gave me a lot of invites. He had invited me to a show in Alabama. He had gave me an invite to a show in Tennessee. And I'm in Georgia, and I didn't know him like that. So I wasn't going to travel to Tennessee or Alabama to go out of my will to go to a show.
Right.
So he finally invited me to one that was in Georgia, Zicky Dice Outlandish Paradise. And he was like, "Man, bring your camera. You can take some pictures." That was the first moment I ever took pictures. And at that moment, I knew that I found my thing. I found my passion. I could do this every day and never get tired of it. I love the camaraderie of what it's like to be around wrestlers. I love the way my pictures turn out. But back to me playing WWE 2K23, I believe it was. They had the Rey Mysterio Grand Metalik Challenge or whatever they had on there. The moment I knew that I had something was when I realized I had just played Rey Mysterio and Grand Metalik on my TV to taking pictures of Grand Metalik. That was my eye-opening moment because it was like I really left my couch to taking pictures of people that I idolized. And, it came so many more after that. The JBLs, that's how I met the Hoochie Daddy. That's how I met Andrade, you name it. Jacob Fatu, all these other people who are now somewhere or were at that point, whether they know it or not, I played a part in taking their picture at one point in time.
That's incredible, and I want people to understand the importance. Everybody that's on a show, I don't care if it's the TV, the shows that are on TV, the national TV, the national companies, or the independent companies. Every position on a show is uber important. Commentary, the people on the switchboard and doing the cameras, who's running hard camera one, camera two, the Roman camera, ring announcer, you know what I mean? All the wrestlers, male and female, everybody has an important part and an important role to play on a show. And that's why I give huge props to every photographer. I know quite a few photographers up where I'm at, and I'm in the northern region, because without them, they got to make us look good. You know what I mean? Just like me as a ring announcer, I have to make sure that these men and women are like superstars. You know what I mean? I want to make every wrestler feel like a superstar as if they're on TV, as if they're coming down the aisle of WrestleMania. That's why, as a ring announcer, I want to make them feel. So I appreciate you. You know, we just met today, but the fact that you really hone your craft and understand the business of pro wrestling and making these wrestlers look as good as they do. So big
Like,
props to you.
likewise,
Now,
likewise. I feel like our main role. I'm sorry to interrupt. Our
no,
main
no, no,
goal
go.
is to really get the character over, make everybody feel larger than life. When I
Hmm.
first started, if there was a show locally that I didn't know who the wrestlers were, I made it my mission to take pictures of them, whether they were the Miyakari guy, the champion, or just starting their
Hmm.
career right here, right now. I knew
Right.
it was my role to make them look bigger than life. So I definitely.
Awesome, awesome. I want to talk to you, Naja, about your journey on the indies, as far as name some of those companies that you did work for and some of the wrestlers that you've worked with, some people that everybody knows and some that may be on the rise that you see coming. Name some of those companies and some of those wrestlers you worked with.
Well, I will say my life is overly consumed by wrestling. Like, because I'm an entrepreneur, a lot of my time goes to wrestling, whether that's editing a show, because my background is also in video editing and graphic
Hmm.
design. So,
Awesome.
editing a show, I do flyers for a lot of different shows. But as we talk about the wrestling side of things, some people I've really gotten to share the ring with over the past year that I would think that people would know. Sean Legacy, who just got WWE ID.
Yeah.
Um, former Velveteen Dream at Change One.
Hmm.
Teriyaki, who's tearing it up on the Indies and GCW. Jay Lucas, who's also a part of the Change roster. Slim J, former AEW ROH talent. Carly Bravo, I've shared the ring with him multiple times. Most recently, a couple weeks ago, who's the ROH AEW talent. Been a lot of people. Fred Yehai, who's done a lot on the Indies. It's just so many great wrestlers got to share the ring with. Some great luchadors. I wrestled in Ohio earlier this year. It's so much I can't even remember. I can't keep up with it. I would have to go down my Instagram. Robert
Right.
Martin is a great up and coming talent. Rico Gonzalez, I've got to share a ring with him and do some amazing things. And yeah, over this year it's been. I would say this, like I said, I've had a long career, but the most part of my career, I was a huge Sting fan. So a lot of my character was based off of him with the face paint and being this ultimate larger than life baby face. And then at the end of 2023 is when I switched to the Hoochie Daddy character and turned heel. And a lot of people didn't believe I could be a heel. They didn't believe I can do a character as a heel. But as soon as it snapped to the Hoochie Daddy, I got more bookings. I got more I got more known. And at first I didn't have that. I was just this great baby face, and that's all people saw me as this high flying baby face. And as soon as I switched to that Hoochie Daddy character, that's when people realized, oh, this guy's an entertainer. He can talk on the mic, he can wrestle, he can mat wrestle, he can do way more than just fly. And that's when I was able to bring out the acting background and all of that. So yeah, it's been a journey. And you never know what's going to work until you try it. So that's one thing I would give advice-wise to indie wrestlers. Don't get stuck into one thing. You got to try something new to see if it works. And what I was doing was working, but I knew I can be more. I knew I could show more character. I knew I can do more on the mic, but I couldn't do it in that babyface character. I couldn't do it stuck where I was. So I had to make a change, and it was a big decision to change, and it worked, and it's still working.
Awesome. Now, was there ever a point in your career as an African American wrestler where you may have struggled in some areas, or somebody may have seen you in a certain light, but you're like, wait a minute, I'm just to your point you made a few seconds ago, I'm more than just this. Were you ever faced with some of those adversities?
Well, I will say I've always had that underlining feeling. In my first part of my career, I felt like I was too short. I felt like I was too
Hmm.
small because I didn't see a lot of people like me. I didn't see a lot of smaller guys. Definitely didn't see a lot of smaller black guys on TV or
Right.
on the larger scale. So it kind of discouraged me in the beginning, but I kind of got to the point where, I was having fun. And when you're having fun, you forget about all that and you forget it. I really wasn't worried about making it to the next level. But when I came back, as I was on my break, we saw the CM Punks, the Daniel Bryans, and all these smaller talents start to become, and the different all the different cruiserweights and them starting the cruiserweight division and everything like that. Of course, I didn't realize the whole time I was on my break, I was still learning, I was still studying. And when I came back, I was a 10 times better wrestler than I was in the beginning. So I would say, yeah, those adversities are one of the reasons why we started Change, because it's definitely here in Georgia. You don't get a lot of African American talents that are able to get into the main event scene or get booked on a lot of different shows. Now we have it where we got a lot of different promotions in Georgia. We probably got like over 30 promotions. Some are getting TV deals. Some are partnering with WWE, partnering with MLW, and the Georgia wrestling scene is booming. But the reason why we started Change, because we had a lot of main eventers, and I'm not saying that they didn't deserve to be in the main event, but we got a lot of young African American talents that don't get seen, or they give up because they're not getting. It's hard for them to get booked on shows. They're showing up to shows and helping with the ring and helping tear down and all that kind of stuff and getting promised to get booked, but it takes forever to get booked. So Change was just creating another platform to give them, and it's an all African American show, so they're all going to get to shine. Like, we probably have about 50 people that we're working with roster wise that we're going to be filtering in every time we have a show. As we talked about before, we had one show last year. This show we're having two: Black History Month and Juneteenth. Next year we want to expand it to 3 times a year. And we're not going to overwork ourselves and try to do too much and move to doing a show every month, or a show every all 6 months or whatever. We're going to gradually get to the point where we can build and get to that point where we're comfortable and not stressed trying to do a show every 2 months or every month.
Awesome. It was a nice segue, because that was going to be my next question in regards to how did you create Change, the both of you. But what was the moment that triggered it? They're saying, you know what? We need to do something. We need to create, pun intended, change.
Go ahead, Face. You can answer.
So my realization was I was back in the locker room, and just seeing all these black faces. I mean, there's so much talent here, and only seeing them at this specific place, and not wondering why they're not here, because they haven't had the exposure to do so, or the eyes just aren't on us. Rather than they're looking this way or that way, they weren't looking at us. So to create more opportunities for my people, for our people, I was like, we need something here. I was already feeling this way, and then Najee brought up the idea, like, hey, look, we need to do something about this. We need to do something for our people that would create a platform for them to be seen. He approached me with the idea, and we had started. Well, when was that idea? When did you have that idea, bro?
I will say I had the idea a year before. I was like, Georgia needs like an all black show or something like that. I had the idea maybe like 8 or 9 months before we even talked about it. But the trigger for me was, after I had the idea, was actually I went to the first Ashe show and I helped out. I just was there just to help out. I wasn't booked to wrestle or anything, just help out and enjoy the event. I wrote with Owen Knight and Ashton Starr there. And I was like, Georgia needs something like this. So Ashe was really the trigger point. I had already thought about the idea, but being at the Ashe event was like, okay, we need to move forward with this idea. Georgia needs something like this.
That's incredible. And I was reading up on, just the company, the shows, and something that stood out to me was the mission statement that says, our mission is to revolutionize the wrestling world, celebrating diversity and showcasing the strength and talent of the African American wrestling community. Now, with such the hot topic now of DEI and all this madness that's going on in the world right now, I find it extremely important, more than ever in our society right now, that shows like this can exist, and realizing the power that we have and saying, listen, we could do this too. We could, there's bookers, there's promoters, there's the wrestlers, there's ring announcers, there's so much talent in our community that we have to really build that strength. And I love that, the companies that are in the Carolinas and all that's going on in Georgia, you know what I
Absolutely.
mean, things of that nature. And I think that shows like this and companies like this, can really strengthen the community.
Absolutely. And I think the major thing, like, we have some great talent that's going to be on the show. And we had a lot of support the first show. It was barely any room in the building. But as the community, they have to realize this show, there's no huge budget. We don't have a lot of huge sponsors or large sum of money that we have behind us. It's mainly been me and him getting sponsors, getting donations and ticket sales. So we just need that support in order for us to keep this going. Us both being entrepreneurs, there's no 9 to 5s over here. We are full blown entrepreneurs. So we need that support from the community. So that's what this is all about. The whole community coming together with sponsorships, local businesses, Black businesses, Black podcasts, Black wrestling, everything. And it's just we've actually had podcasts and not Black podcasts. We've got support from other wrestling organizations that no, they're not Black owned or anything, but they see what we're doing. They use some of the talents that are on the show. So they donate, they help out, and that's pretty much what's the main thing that we need right now. Support, sponsors, donations, and all of that. That's what makes this event happen.
Incredible. So I know, we talked about some of the members of the roster. There's Savannah Evans, Rose Gold, there's Shoot Taylor, JTG.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorites and a guy that I've worked with at the world famous Monster Factory, Hyena Hex. He's a guy that I've known my entire career. When I got started, he was already training at the Monster Factory, former heavyweight champion for us, and an incredible talent.
And
When you go,
I got to meet Hyena because One Division Pro in New York was one of our partners, the first for Change One. Got
okay,
to go up there and work up there. Had a great time wrestling up there and partnering with them. We haven't used any talent from them on this show, but like you said, Hyena is somebody who's in our roster that we will pull from, and eventually he'll be back on the show. But everyone we used on the first change, which we used almost 50 wrestlers on the first event,
wow, that's incredible.
yeah, we're gonna get back to using everybody from that pool, and there'll probably be some new faces that will filter in too. But yeah, sorry to interrupt.
No, not at all. So, but planning the first show, I mean, if I may, because you two are spearheading this whole thing, what's the process? You're reaching out to wrestlers because see, it's almost reminded me of the first All In. They had to first find out what date was nobody working. Was it September 1st, 2018? They had to find all of that out. So talk about the journey of leading up to the Juneteenth show last year and how you were all able to pull this whole entire show together.
Yeah, so for us, I mean, I think Juneteenth, we were like, we want to make a statement and we want it to be known this is for us by us. So the
Yes,
date
we
pick
wanted to
was
celebrate Juneteenth. We knew that every time we do this event, we wanted to center around something celebrating Black history or our culture.
Culture,
So
right?
yeah, we knew Juneteenth was coming up, so that was the main thing, putting it around or within that realm of Juneteenth.
Okay.
And then as far as like making the connections and getting to know people and pulling talent, like I said, I was already a photographer. And not too many people know this, but me being a photographer, I'm usually welcome just to be around, because people want to look good, so naturally they want me to be around. So and I've always been somebody who stresses how important it is to network. So if they gave me the opportunity to take pictures, I was going to say something to the people I was taking pictures of. You know what I mean? Like,
Agreed.
hey, how you doing? I'm the face. This is what I do. So making meaningful connections in the back and, not just saying, hey, hi, bye, and leaving it at that. But if they posted something on social media, I was like, hey, man, that move was amazing. And I built this reputation of just being a friendly face, somebody that people could just talk to. So
Right.
I use that to really, like, hey, look, we have this show coming in June. And Najasism used some of his connections as well to be like, hey, look, we're doing this show in June. So one thing I'll say from the first Change show is, because that was my first time organizing a show,
Okay.
is that I was shocked. I was shocked by how welcoming and opening everybody was to take direction from a photographer, which spoke to me on different levels, because at the end of the day, you know, they could have been like, we're not listening to the photographer. You know, like there's so many other people that we could listen to here, or you know, whatever, take direction where else. But by making those connections and networking, nobody really gave me a challenge, made it difficult. Everybody was like, okay, this is our guy. He's worked for us plenty of times. We're gonna work for him. And it was a mutual respect. And I have so much respect and appreciation for everybody who participated in the first Change. So you can imagine.
And then the next step was making sure we have original looking content, making sure our social media and everything, our video, everything was high quality. So the next step was, once we got the talent together that we knew we want to use, having a media, we pretty much had like 2 weeks of dates. And if you're on the roster, you can pick any date and a time slot to come take your pictures, come do your videos, come to do your promos. We did the same thing with this show, but that's pretty much was the process, making sure we got video and we got pictures of the same quality from everyone. So we're not pulling out their Facebook and pulling out their Instagram. Everybody had the same quality of pictures, and making sure we stayed in constant communication with the talent. When we're posting, making sure we are making them aware that we're posting, collabing with them. It's just a process of everybody working together to make it work. Pretty much how. Yep.
And then doubling down real quick, like when we scheduled the media dates, you know, like I said, he specializes in film and videography. I specialize in that too, but also I specialize in photography. So when we came to, you know, pushing out content there, it was like, okay, well, that's something that we don't really got to worry about, you know, because we're knowledgeable in those areas. So when it came to scheduling the photo shoots and making the videos happen, it clicked, because, you know, most promotions, that's hard for them. That's tough. That's a struggle. Just getting people in the same place to put out content. But for us, you know, that's something that we were familiar with. So it kind of just came naturally, and, you know, content galore.
And then with booking the show, pretty much writing out the roster, writing out the matches. Then after that, typing out the entire show. Every segment was typed out, organized. The booking was spot on. Everything that we kind of wanted to happen happened the exact way we wanted to happen. Maybe one or two things with time. We definitely learned from the first show about timing the show and making sure each match, you know, a lot of things that we messed up on the first time, as far as the refs times and ending at a certain time in the press conference, you know, little small stuff like the mics not working, everything that we messed up on, or we kind of didn't do as well as we should have.
Right.
Everything is at the PCW Arena, which is one of the companies I've worked with for years. I started at, and I worked behind the scenes at PCW, and we have made it an effort for the past 6 months at PCW to incorporate all the things that we messed up on at Change. We fixed them during the PCW shows. Having 12 walkies, making sure everything is charged, make sure that we have somebody timing everything, make sure we're communicating with the referees, make sure there's an agent for every match, you know, little small stuff like that we have incorporated. So when it's time for Change, we've already got that stuff in place. We're running a show every 2 weeks for PCW. So when it's time to run Change, it's just another day. Oh,
Let me ask you this though. Right. Being that you, because technically, you know, you two are the promoters and the booker. Who did you both go to for advice about how do you run a show? How do we do it this way, or how do you do it that way? Was it a veteran in the industry that you've, you know, kind of tapped on the shoulder, you know, to get some 411 on how to do this?
Well, I will say I'm less of a booker. When it comes to myself, they've kind of pushed me out the booking committee. If you saw the video that was posted on social media this week, you know, we're not going to go into all that, but I'm pretty familiar on running shows myself. I'm the creator of the Georgia Wrestling Award Show. So this is our third year doing that. Just got to doing the Georgia Wrestling Awards show. I've ran wrestling shows before.
Okay.
I've events outside of wrestling. I've helped with concerts, and it's just something I've always done. I've always been a leader. I've always been involved with running events. I used to have an acting school for a couple years. We did a lot of events with that. So it wasn't necessarily a person that we directly got help from, but I will say there was a lot of moving parts and a lot of people within the industry that helped during the event and stuff like that. But as far as technically getting advice, it wasn't too many people we pulled from, I don't think.
And for me, I've worked over 30 shows at this point, so I've been around shows where there was 14 people next to a garbage can on a low boy ring, and I've been to shows that have fits 800, 1,000 people. So I was able to firsthand really understand what it was like being talking to bookers. I saw they've had like there's shows where the rare occasion where they're sitting down and everything's going perfect. And I've been to shows where, they were like, hey, look, I know you're a photographer, but do you want to ref? And I'm like, oh, I have no experience doing that. So I've had
we pretty much experienced all the good and all the bad. Before we started running our show, we've seen it all.
Absolutely. Yeah, it came from experience. Like, I've kind of like I said, accumulated knowledge. It was like, okay, I've been to those shows that have done great. I've been to shows that have done terrible. I've been to shows that were a failure. I've been to shows that were a success. And I kind of picked up a little bit of knowledge and from like, okay, what they did wrong here. Okay, what they did right here. How did they plan? How did they promote? I studied that kind of thing coming into Change.
And one thing I would say I'm good at just being a wrestler. I'm good at being in work mode when I need to be. And then when I go to shows, I'm good at just shutting my mouth. I could be a locker room leader, give advice and all of that. But as far as me feeling the need to get up and help behind scenes and all that kind of stuff, I kind of play my role when it's time to play my role. When it's time to be a wrestler, I will let the promoters and the bookers and handle everything. I'm not going to be. Now, if somebody comes to me and asks me advice or asks me something, I'll give whatever knowledge I can give. But I know how to sit back and be the wrestler and not be over judgmental or overly involved in what the promoter is doing, because that's their promotion. That's their business. I'll give whatever advice I can to help, but
Right.
Awesome. Well, of course, we're here to talk about what's coming up on February the 16th in Conyers, Georgia. Change 2. Hosted by Shalance and the one and only the Hoochie Daddy himself, Najasism. And this is an incredible card, top to bottom. We'll talk about some of the matches and what went into some of these matches. We have Ariel Van Gogh, versus movie MTK. Talk about that match first.
Let's talk about it. Ariel Van Gogh has traveled all over the world. You've seen him on GCW, TNA. I got to wrestle him November 30th last year. Great talent. Movie Mike, who's done appearances at Ashe. He's one of those talents who are just really starting to get notarized and for his promos and his in-ring skills. And perfect combination. The Face came up with that one.
Absolutely. And I love it too, because as I've grown to take pictures, I've always become, I've become more story-based. And, with Movie Mike's director gimmick, we have the artist and Ariel Van Gogh. This match is artist versus artist. So we have, artist Ariel Van Gogh painting his picture of what change is, and we have Movie Mike over here directing the film of change, and it's going to happen in the ring when they meet each other on February 16th. I'm super excited about this match. Ariel Van Gogh, as he's known for, will literally bring the roof down.
He wrestled at PCW last month and he jumped off the roof. So
that is not a joke. He will do that.
He literally climbed the top rope, grabbed the beam up on the roof and flipped off of the beam on the ceiling. And he's known for doing it. So expect the unexpected at Change when those two wrestle.
Incredible. And then the next match I have here is Savannah Evans versus Rose Gold. Talk about that one.
I'll talk about it. Savannah Evans was Rose Gold's first match ever. We didn't even know that. And Rose told me that at training, because I train wrestlers, and she's one of the people that trains with me, and she's like, wow. She's like, I finally get to wrestle her now that I'm good. I'm better now. She's like, I was a rookie when I first wrestled her, and Savannah's a TNA knockout. So
Yes.
it's a good opportunity for Rose. And like I said, we had the Georgia Wrestling Awards just last week, and Rose for the second year won Female Performer of the Year. So
Awesome.
this is her test to see if that award was, definitely, did she deserve it? This is an opportunity for her to prove herself when 4 years later she gets to wrestle the person that she wrestled in her first match and prove that she's a different talent. She's a different wrestler.
Absolutely. And I met Savannah Evans at another show here in Georgia, and I took her pictures, and just watching the match that she had, it was great. Like every so often I have those times where I'm taking pictures and I forget that I'm a photographer here, and I'll have moments where I find myself being a fan again. And I definitely had one of those moments when I watched her work. With Rose Gold coming through, Rose is probably there for me taking pictures since day one. I've taken more pictures of Rose than I can count. So I've seen her wrestle a lot as well. And to finally have them together in the same ring, I'm super excited for what they produce. Like it's definitely going to be a huge match that, if you check our social media, everyone's been talking about. Everybody's excited for Rose Gold versus Savannah Evans, including myself. So I cannot wait for that match.
Awesome. Of course, we have the Twins versus Twins tag team match. The Russell Twins taking on the H-Town Hitters. That really would have stood out to me. Talk about it.
Once I turned heel, we're going to break the fourth wall. When I turned into the Hoochie Daddy at the end of 2023, the H-Town Hitters were security guards at the show, and I saw something in them, started training with them, and they became a part of my group called The Entertainment, the ENT. I've been training with them for about a year now, and this is the biggest test of their career. At Change 1, the Russell Twins won a triple threat tag team match, and the H-Town Hitters felt the need to come out and stand off with the Twins. We saw the Twins standing off with the Twins at Change 1. We knew we had to book it for Change 2. And I will say, about just to go back to Savannah and Rose, originally Jada Stone was supposed to be in that match, but as you saw on our social media, she announced that she got the opportunity to go back to Japan, so she wouldn't be able to make the June date. But we're gonna get back to all of that in June when we go back to Change 3. But the Twins, this is the biggest opportunity of their career. As we know, the Russell Twins have traveled all over the world, won tag team championships all over the U.S., done some appearances with ROH. So it's a big test for both teams, because the Twins, they're huge. The H-Town Hitters are huge. They're 6'3", big muscled up guys. And the Russell Twins, they got more speed. So it's going to be a good contrast to see
styles, right?
What happens, yeah.
Incredible. We have CT Keys versus Shoot Taylor.
CT Keys, we've seen on AEW Dark. We've seen him make some appearances for AEW. Awesome, talented wrestler who took a break last year, and now he's back, and you've seen him do a lot. CT has been a world champion in Georgia multiple times. He's huge, very talented in the ring. He got speed against power. And don't sleep on CT's speed, because he can do the flips, he can jump over the top rope, he can do all of that. So it's going to be another good contrast in styles, and those contrasts make the good matches, in my opinion. I prefer to see a contrast versus two people who wrestle exactly alike.
Absolutely. And CT Keys, at the first Change, he wrestled Tyson Maddox, who we announced, won't be able to be an active wrestler in the second edition of Change. But the first at the first Change, we had CT Keys. They had an amazing match. So it almost seemed like, it wouldn't have been in our best interest not to have him on this second Change. The very first match was great. And this time against Shoot Taylor, who I met, I've probably known Shoot now for 2-3 years. So I met him at another show out here, and he instantly won over the crowd. Everybody was chanting "shoot, shoot, shoot!" And when I first started taking pictures as a rookie, you kind of the way the crowd kind of reacts to characters is kind of where you're like, oh, this guy's the guy. Like if he has a chant and the crowd is interested, that means he's doing something correct. And for me, I was like, okay, I want to start chanting shoot. So, Shoot's bringing that energy to change too. And, he has a formidable opponent with Siete Keys, who, like he mentioned earlier, is like huge. So,
and I've had some bangers with both of them. So I know for sure they are going to deliver like no other on Change Shoot. They're gonna go that extra mile to make sure they have a banger.
What I like about this when we're going through some of these matches, because some of I've heard some of these names, Savannah Evans, obviously from TNA, but I love the fact that, Naja, you've had experiences wrestling with working with some of these people and having the idea of saying, you know what, I think this could be a really good, match for the fans and putting the fans first because they want to see they want to see something different. You know what I mean? And I like the fact that you're putting your personal experiences with these talents and putting it into the show. All right. So we have up next, we have Carly Bravo versus former WWE superstar JTG with special MC Tyson Maddox. Having a guy like JTG who's been on WrestleMania, who's performed at some of these big shows for WWE, bringing a talent like that in, working with some of your talents. What's that like, and how do you see this match panning out?
Let's talk about it. So Carly, one of my greatest rivals ever. Before he got signed, we was tearing it up for about a year, wrestling each other. AEW Ring of Honor talent versus former WWE talent. This was originally, the show was built around Tyson versus JTG. Tyson had surgery a couple months ago, and he was well ahead of his recovery time, physical therapy time. Maybe like 2 weeks ago, the doctors told him he's going to need about 2 more months of healing up before he get in the ring. So he has to push his return back to April. Carly was already a possible lock for Change as my opponent. But we had to change some things around, and Carly was willing to definitely step in and take that match, and it's going to be a banger. If you've been watching what JTG has been doing on the indies over the past couple years, he's transformed his body. His in-ring skills have really elevated, and he's had some great matches. So I know these two are going to give us a main event, that's going to be unforgettable. And it's also a main event that people are going to stick around to see. And it's going to deliver.
Yeah, I met JTG. Actually, I got this crazy call one day. I got a call and from Stud Marshall, the wrestler I mentioned earlier, who got me involved. He said, "Hey, look, man, my car's down. I need to ride to Florida." I'm like, "Okay, fine, nothing crazy. Let's ride to Florida." He was like, "Oh, but you're also taking their main event to Florida." I'm like, "Okay, who's the main event?" He was like, "You might know him." I'm like, "Okay, that's kind of suspicious." He was like, "It's JTG." So I had the privilege of driving JTG all the way to Florida. And of course, me being that fanboy, my grandfather was a huge Crime Time fan. I was a huge Crime Time fan. We cheered for him. Get money. Yeah, all that. So we we cheered for JTG. And, I'm like, oh, crap. Because at first, I ain't going to lie to you. He said, we got a show in Florida. You got to drive me. I wasn't too excited. I was like, okay, fine, I guess. But then he said JTG was in the car. I'm like, all right, where I need to be. So I drove him all the way to Florida, and one of the coolest people I've ever had the privilege of talking to. We were talking about wrestling and Tim's for years. We were talking about his relationship with Shad, his journey, his story. Where he's at now, where he was at when he got signed originally, to his wrestling career, to all types of stuff. Stuff that like I'm like, you're in my car for 5 hours. I'm gonna ask you every question I have in the book.
100%.
And he actually wrestled the Pope at this particular show. They went like 45 minutes.
Elijah Burke. Okay.
Minutes. Yeah, he went against Elijah Burke for about 45 minutes. And it was just crazy watching him work too, because like 45 minutes and to not get tired. By the way, they had this. They were fighting in the ring. They were fighting in the crowd. They were on the wall of the building. They were nice. They took the match everywhere. And I didn't even really take too many pictures at this show. It was just so I had the ability to just watch what was happening in front of me, and it was great. They didn't lose the crowd in 45 minutes. Everybody was entertained. It was a great show. And so when I'm thinking about change too. You know, he was
Sounds
like,
like
"Hey, look, man."
a match. She said,
You said what?
I said that sounds like a Hoochie Daddy match. 45 minutes, don't lose the crowd. No.
But absolutely, look, that you see, I'm repping the Hoochie Mania shirt. But yeah, so they had that match, and I'm like, okay, look, I have a show that we do in Conyers, and you know, he's like, okay, you know, that's something I'd be interested in. I'm on board with the concept. Here's my number, and you know, from that point on, we've talked ever since. Whether it been about, you know, my gym journey, where I'm at in life, he's kind of taken on a mentor role for me. So I'm super excited to have him in the ring for change too. But we also got somebody who he's standing across from, who is Carly Bravo, who always brings the energy every single night. You know, like I have not seen a crowd Carly Bravo couldn't get excited about a match. You know, I feel like he does the thing where he kind of sets the tone as soon as he comes through the curtain, which is very important. You know, as soon as he comes through that curtain, you can just feel the aura of Carly Bravo.
Right.
You know, his in-ring ability, he's always, you know, just really, he's fast-paced as well. But also his moveset is very different, you know, in a way. I'm gonna hype him up. I'm about to say something crazy. Some of his moveset, you know, kind of, you know, remind me of, and this is gonna be a huge, you know, don't burn me, whoever watches this, but a lot of his movesets kind of remind me of a young Booker T, WCW Booker T.
No, that's if you didn't say Booker T, I was like,
let me explain something. Young Book up to when Booker went single, right?
Yeah.
That's who he wrestles like.
I was no lie, I was just watching Booker's match against Bret Hart a few days ago, and I'm just like, man, this dude, and I'll be honest, that Booker T should have been a WWE in 1998.
And I mentioned it earlier. I got to train with Booker last year, got to do reality of wrestling. Like I said, it takes somebody saying something to remind me, but that was a huge opportunity to go there, experience, and he is who he is on TV. The man is no faking it. That's who he is, his personality and everything. And that, just like you said it, that's who Carly reminds me of. When I watch him wrestle, he does that skit. He's very entertaining. You know, that's who Carly reminds me of.
Absolutely, he's in great company by me saying Booker T. I'm happy that we all agreed there. But my Carly Bravo story, like I said, I had been taking pictures. And this particular night, I was behind on editing those photos, and I got an invite to training and I wasn't I'm not a wrestler, so I was just there, you know, working while people were training. One of those people happened to be Carly Bravo, and you know, watching him train and seeing the work, his work ethic, and you know, him creating moves, and you know, discovering how to work in this situation. You know, I caught myself just being like, wow, this is awesome. At the end of it, he was like, okay, so, you know, introducing himself to people were introducing themselves. And he was like, okay, so who is he? And I'm like, oh, here I go. You know, I'm just a photographer. He's like, oh, okay, cool. So, and this is like, again, very early in my career. So it's also an honor to create a platform for Carly Bravo, because, you know, I'll always have that memory as well.
Amazing. It's credible how all of these experiences, you know what I mean, is leading up to what you two are doing now. You know what I mean? All of these relationships, all the networking, like you were talking about earlier, how networking is super important. Thus, you're about to do your second show. Incredible
we got
stories.
More to talk about, and what I'm very particular I want to talk about, but I'm gonna let you bring it up. I'm gonna let you go
Sure.
ahead.
Now there is a change. I believe it's a 7-way change challenge match with Deion Summers, DJ Smoke, Austin Towers, Ashton Starr, J Alpha Miller, Manny Lowe, and Jay Lucas.
This match is going to be fire. And the person who has the most pinfalls or submissions at the end of the match is the winner. So let's talk about the participants. Jay Lucas, you're starting to see him get a real big following on social media. See him in GCW. He's tearing it up on the Georgia scene, the Indianapolis scene. Hey, he's a bright star in the business. Then who's the next person we said? Manny Lowe. He's the Carolinas Firestar Pro. He's tearing it up. DPW, I think he's done some all Caribbean wrestling appearances, maybe 1 or 2. I'm I think so.
It's the company that Mark Henry is working with, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Then you got Austin Towers, maybe the tallest wrestler in Georgia. Well, one of the tallest wrestlers here in Georgia, biggest wrestlers, multiple time champion, very talented in the ring, 7-footer. Then we got Ashton Starr, a vet in the business. He's done some appearances with AEW. He's a stay for Ashe. He's traveled all over the U.S. Then let's get to the rookies. J. Alpha Miller just won Rookie of the Year here in Georgia. One of my trainees. He is going to be a star. Mic skills, work ethic, everything about him. He is the next up. DJ Smoke, also a part of my group, the ENT. Awesome technical wrestler. I think he started training with Jonathan Gresham.
Okay.
He's been training with me for over 2 years now. We tagged up in Tennessee, Georgia. We've done it in numerous cities. He's one of my group members. And then let's talk about Dion Summer, also one of the people that trains with me. Dion, an amazing talent. Over the past 2 years, he has really gotten to the point where he's starting to figure it out. He's starting to get his body together. He's starting to do the right things at the right time. So this match is going to be interesting because you got a nice mix of veterans and a nice mix of the up-and-coming talent who are really starting to make a wave in the industry. So that match is going to be great. And it's a 15-minute time limit. So for 15 minutes, who's going to get the most pinfalls and submissions?
That's incredible. Wow.
Yeah. The person who has the most pinfalls and submissions at the end of that match will be the winner of the Change Challenge.
Amazing. And of course, the last match that's on the card.
I want to talk about.
All right. It's a triple threat match for the PCW Championship. We have Dominic Stuckey versus Trevor Aeon, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and Chad Skywalker. So talk about your interest in this match.
Let's talk about my interest in this match because I should have been in this match. But the booking committee decided that anything dealing with me, they have full control over booking me. I don't have creative control when it comes to me. So anyway, let's talk about it. Last year, 382 days PCW champion, the man that put PCW on the map. 382, I still haven't gotten a rematch. And currently, I'm in the best of 7 series, traveling all over the state and Tennessee and Florida with Chad Skywalker. So I thought it would be perfect for them to just put Stuckey, me, and Chad in a triple threat. But if you go on our social media, we did a press conference last week. The powers that be decided that it would be Trevor and Chad to be in a triple threat match. I'm pissed, but I have to worry about the overall show. That's why I'm hosting now, because I can't be in the match. But we're worried about the overall success of the show. Stuckey cashed in a contract that he won to beat me for that title. He's never beaten me in a full one-on-one match. So, we're going to see. I'm going to be watching closely. But you got Chad Skywalker, one of the most talented wrestlers in the U.S. right now. He just needs the right platform to be on. And even though I'm in a heated best of 7 with him right now, he possibly could walk out changed as the PCW champion. And Trevor Aeon, mainstay at Ashe. He's traveled all over the world, traveled all over the U.S. He's done stuff in Japan. And then Dominic Stuckey, one of those talents who has been doing it for like 7 or 8 years now. I think 8 years now. And, he's done some major things in the sport. So this is going to be an interesting triple threat match that I will be watching closely.
And I would imagine that the Hoochie Daddy will probably have first dibs on whoever walks out as the PCW champion. Am I safe to say that?
I'm going to be watching JTG and Carly. And I'm going to be watching the PCW championship match, because what will happen at the next change is I will be in a one-on-one match. And it may be one of those 5 people. And as we talked about Tyson Maddox being injured, Tyson Maddox will still be involved with that main event. Tyson Maddox has committed to being the MC for that event and doing commentary, and he's going to be watching closely who wins that match too. And you know what would be interesting? I'm going to be watching who wins that match. Tyson's going to be watching who wins that match. Maybe I should be watching Tyson too. We'll see.
Well, I guess we just got an exclusive on the D-Lew podcast. I'm honored that we're getting all this information, about the ramifications of the finishes of these matches. But where can people buy tickets, and is this going to be streamed?
Look at here. Tickets, sponsorship, vendor opportunities, everything is on change4 wrestling.com. Everything is on changeforwrestling.com.
Okay, perfect. And while you're at it, and you brought it up, I'm glad you did. Talk about the different packages and how people can either be a partner or also be a vendor for Change4 Wrestling.
Face, you could talk a little bit. I'm gonna pull it up while you talk a little bit.
Right? Yeah, pull it up. We got different levels to it. We have light heavyweight, and I'm missing one. Super heavyweight. There are three different. There's four.
You're wrong. I'm pulling it up.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up. We don't get it all together, but there's certain different packages that give off different things.
I got it.
Go for it.
So you can be a regular vendor for $75. That's any type of business. If you wanted to be a food vendor, it's $100. If you want to be a food truck vendor, it's $125. Now, as we get to the sponsorships, you have the lightweight championship sponsor, which is $250. And as you go look at those sponsorships, it'll tell you what it entails, whether your logo is on the flyers or your logo is on our social media or on the videos during the event or the step and repeat banner or the shirts, whatever each sponsorship packet entails. When you go look at them, it'll tell you what you're paying for, what you are sponsoring. Then you got the heavyweight championship. You was almost close. You had a heavyweight championship sponsor is $350. The undisputed championship sponsor.
That's what it was. Undisputed. Yeah.
It's $500. And then the main event sponsor is $800. So, as you read through those sponsorships, it'll tell you exactly what those sponsorships entail.
Awesome. Well, before we get out of here, if you can plug the company's social media and your individual social media as well.
So the Instagram for Change is Change4 Wrestling, same as the website.
Change4 Wrestling.
4 Wrestling is the social media. I believe
same thing for Facebook. Change4.
X is X the only one that's different? Change4W.
Yeah, because we couldn't put the whole wrestling word, so it's just Change4W on X.
And then we had TikTok, but I don't know what's happening with TikTok.
Yeah, we really haven't worked on the TikTok. But if you want to email us, like we said, everything is on the website, Change4 Wrestling. And if you want to email us, changeforwrestling@gmail.com. That's for if you have questions about the sponsorships or the vendors, or if you have questions about bookings or anything like that. I guess I'll do my social media first. The main social media I'm usually on is my IG. That's the THE Najasism NAJASISM. That's my Instagram. If you want me on Facebook, just look up Najasism. If you want me on YouTube, Najasism, just look up Najasism Wrestling to pop right up. And those are the main 3 social medias I'm focused on right now. And for bookings, you can hit the DMs on any of those social medias or just email me at najasism@gmail.com. Everything on the internet is NAJASISM. Stand up and clap for your Hoochie Daddy.
For me, my social media is on Instagram, which is the one I mainly use. Is Interface, spelled INTRFACE. I have another social media which is I'm creating for. I've recently been selected to be a WWE Fanatics affiliate.
So how you waited to the end to tell them you just became a WWE ambassador? Go ahead.
Because we was talking about change.
Okay.
But yeah, so I recently became a WWE affiliate with Interface. So a lot of WWE geared posts will be coming out soon, and I'm gonna have first access when they release merch. That I'm going to, if you're interested in buying the shirt that they're wearing on TV, I'm gonna be able to send out a link, and you can there's discounts, all types of stuff. But so my first social media is interface _ INTRFACE _ and then my other one is INTRFACE LLC. Not to toot my own horn, but I had 188K views and interactions for the year. If not to my horn again, but usually when I drop a picture, I average about 41.7K social media views throughout my social media. Yeah, it's happening, man.
I ain't had nothing but a couple billion. I mean, the only thing I had was a couple of videos get 1 million views, but that's nothing.
But you're the Hoochie Daddy. Everybody wants to see the Hoochie Daddy. No.
His social media is banging right now. It's booming.
Absolutely.
Well,
yours is too, man.
It's coming along.
Awesome. Well, again, don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, February the 16th in Conyers, Georgia. Change 2
outside of Atlanta. I had to put that in there. Everybody's like, "What the hell is Conyers, Georgia?" Conyers, Georgia is basically Atlanta, Georgia. We 20 minutes outside the city. It's close. Come on, get that.
Yeah, and while y'all are all at it, what I'm saying, while everything's going on, we're getting to the end of this interview. I just would like to remind you guys that if you are watching this, you should be standing up and clapping the whole time. It's Hoochie disrespect to not be standing up and clapping the entire time you guys watch this interview.
Right here. See them shirts? Yeah,
well, I guess I have to clap too.
He got on one of the shirts. I got on one of the shirts. You can get my shirts on prowrestlingtees.com /NAJSISM. But we talking about change. Get them tickets for change.
Get those tickets and stand up and clap while you're on our website getting those tickets.
Oh, God.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, again, thank you so much for giving me your time. I appreciate it. And this won't be the last time you guys will be on, because I'm pretty sure when Change 3 comes up, we'll definitely revisit that again.
Absolutely.
So look forward to that. Does it for this week's edition of the D-Lew Podcast. Again, I want to thank Najasism and The Face for taking the time out of their very, very busy schedule to come onto the D-Lew Podcast to talk about their huge event that's taking place this Sunday. I urge you, all of you that are in the Atlanta area, even in Tennessee or Florida or South Carolina, no matter where you are, hit up this event, and I guarantee you won't regret it. And I'm hopeful that I can do business with Change Wrestling somewhere down in the near future. Subscribe, all platforms, especially Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and of course, all the video content on YouTube. My YouTube channel has all of the episodes of the D-Lew Podcast, my music, of course, music videos, and some of my actor reels as well. So make sure you check out all aspects of what I'm doing here on, of course, my YouTube channel. Social media. Again, social media is very, very important. You can get all the updates on the D-Lew Podcast at the D-Lew Podcast on all platforms. Now, my social media, again, is at the real DT Lew, with the exception of Facebook, Derrick T. Lewis official page. Of course, you can go to my Pro Wrestling Tees store. It's pwt.derricktLewis.com. And of course, all of the D-Lew Podcast, Siete music merchandise you can get at shop.derricktLewis.com. But I'm going to get out of here. And as I always say, no matter what it is you do in life, always remember to make it count. See you next time.